nobody touch my hair, cause a lot of sisters acting too crazy. And them not tough like this, rough like this, and them not nice like this. Some can't take it when you talk true sense, rather hear the words that glorify nonsense. Yes, and I got my brain, and I'm pretty like my mama. I don't wanna pick your brains, I just want the microphone. Take the mask off your face and look at me face to face. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I wanna share my love, but it's gotta be with someone who's precious. You're never gonna get my love, accepting that you're real precious. You're never gonna cramp my style, baby, cause I get a lot of pleasure. And if you wanna test my put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Good morning, viewers. It's 7 a.m. and this is the Tobago Updates morning show coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough. Yes, viewers, you see the excitement on my face. I wonder why. It is Friday. It is Friday, the 22nd of April, 2022. As we continue to give God thanks for life, I am Julian Skeet, and indeed we're happy to be welcoming all of you joining us. Those of you joining us here in Tobago, those of you joining us in Trinidad, in the region. I know some of our counterparts continue to connect with us, Grenada, Barbados, and those of you out there in the world certainly making Tobago proud. And also we continue to welcome even those who are passionate and naturally connected. You visited here once or twice and you said, I love Tobago, so I follow Tobago Updates to know what's happening in Tobago. We want to welcome each and every one of you here this morning to the Tobago Updates morning show. It's Friday, folks. It's Friday and the energy is high. The excitement is here on a Friday morning. And we just want to start off this morning with a very quick announcement. And it's a public advisory of a temporary closure of school. The Board of Management of the Pentecostal Light and Life Foundation advises all parents and teachers that the Pentecostal Light and Life Foundation High School is temporarily closed until further notice. While the board has collaborated with the Tobago House of Assembly to address these matters, they were unfortunately not expedited for school opening. An update will be forthcoming following a discussion with the relevant parties. We thank you for your cooperation, patience and support as we seek to provide our students with the best educational experience possible. And this is courtesy by order of management of the Pentecostal Light and Life Foundation School. All right, so it's a public advisory, the temporary closure of school at Pentecostal Light and Life. So parents, please take note accordingly. All right, at this point, viewers, we head straight on over to news in 90 seconds with Denicia.
Julian, here's the news in 90 seconds. Minority Leader Kelvin Morris accused Education Secretary Zarisha Hackett of caring more about fashion than students' education. Speaking at a press conference yesterday, Morris says it is unacceptable to blame the previous administration for not undertaking maintenance works in schools during the pandemic. Hackett promised that all schools would be ready for Wednesday, but Scarborough RC Primary School was not. He called for the Chief Secretary to fire Hackett from the division. If he does not, Morris promised to bring a notion of no confidence against her. In other news, parties and the consumption of alcohol on the Bucko Reef Marine Park is now prohibited. A notice from the Division of Food Security, Natural Resources and the Environment and Sustainable Development says the Marine Act says they have amended to restrict access on the Bucko Reef Marine Park. The Act stated that only vessels with access or transit passes are allowed in the park. Additionally, tours are only permitted between the hours of 10 a.m. and 5:30 p.m. These measures were introduced to prevent unauthorized use of the protected marine park. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley will be heading to Washington, D.C. on Sunday to continue discussions with the United States Bank stakeholders. Dr. Rowley returned from Barbados yesterday, where heads of CARICOM discussed the increase in restrictions placed on the region by the U.S. banking sector. New legislation in the U.S. has many financial institutions wary of doing businesses with the Caribbean. If caught doing businesses with banks who are engaged in money laundering or funding terrorism, they can face hefty fines. Dr. Rowley will be accompanied by a few members of CARICOM to lobby U.S. government officials and banks to reconsider their decision. That was your news in 90 seconds. Back to you, Julian.
Thank you very much, Denise, with our news in 90 seconds. You know, taking up straight from the news, folks, it's very interesting developments that we're seeing, particularly the discussion that's currently happening in relation to the Scarborough RC School. I felt it quite interesting at that, because I decided to, you know, check the information, pretty relevant, pretty important. And, you know, my research and my information tells me the Scarborough RC School was opened in September of 2018. We were all excited as an island because, you know, for a very long time, the school had longed to ensure that they can benefit from such a facility. And then my memory takes me back, and my information took me back to April of 2019. Again, a similar period, shortly after the Easter period in April. And this particular article noted that the $85 million Scarborough RC Primary School commissioned last August, meaning in 2018, however, $3 million in repairs to the floor are ongoing. And that happened because there were some tiling issues in 2019. And then further to that, it would have been noted most obviously other Tobago schools opened. And this is in 2019. Other Tobago schools opened, and of course the specific one being a day later than the national school, similar to the arrangement we had this year, as Easter Tuesday and the Buku Goat and Crabberries Festival is an unofficial Tobago holiday. Interesting, that was 2019. We experienced the COVID situation in 2020 going into 2021, and we're still within the pandemic, but now having our students back out. And once again, we are faced with the challenge. And, you know, I find it quite unfortunate when we look at the very broad time span. I'm hearing references by the minority leader speaking to the issue of the Secretariat responsibility for education, notwithstanding that she's been there for 4 months and we've had a secretary in office from the former administration for a number of years. And then I'm also hearing a response that comes from the Secretary of Education, taking note of the fact that responsibility should have been taken by the former administration in relation to maintenance, seeing that they would have obviously been there for the longer period. All right, but my question, quite frankly, is, why isn't both the minority and the current administration trying to identify who is the contractor that was responsible for this school 4 years ago, just under 4 years ago in 2018, 2019, we had challenges at the school that we had to spend a lot more money on. Once again, in 2022, returning to school, there was no physical school in 2020, no physical in 2021. 2022, we are returning again in another Easter period, and it's the same, it's another kind of challenge operating with the facility. Tiles in one instance, now you're seeing a number of photos in other areas in disrepair. And my question is, let's zone in on the contractor with responsibility, the contractor or contractors. I mean, I'm just throwing that out there. So we move away a bit from the politics and focusing on where the issue may really lie. Should contractors have some sense of responsibility, especially in such a short time period? And as I noted before, school opened, new facility in September of 2018. Challenges with some issues there, and monies had to be spent again in April of 2019, less than a year. Head into COVID in March of 2020, within COVID in 2021, reopen in April of 2022, and yet we have challenges again to go and spend additional monies. Let's look at the maintenance, let's look at the issues of the original work done by the contractor, and let's speak to that issue. And that's just my suggestion out there to those in authority, both from the standpoint of governance in the context of the majority and the minority. Let's focus on where the real issue is in terms of getting the school ready in the first instance for students to be able to return as soon as possible, and two, ensuring that you hold the relevant contractors responsible for the work that has been done. All right, and at this point, viewers, we head on into our birthday celebrations today. Let's see who we have on the lineup for birthday celebrations. Hello, hello, hello. This morning on our birthday lineup, we have Melda Moore Nana, all right, mother of one of our very, very good friends and colleagues here at the Tobago Updates morning show. And we want to say shout outs to Melda Moore Nana. We want to thank you as well. You know, even all our shows where we are on the outside, Carnival time and so on, she makes sure she gives us a taste of all those homemade stuff. Yes, and we got the hot cross buns as well. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Happy, happy birthday going out to you, and we trust that you have an enjoyable day. We're also sending birthday shout-outs to Maya and Angela Frank. We want to send happy, happy birthday going out to you. We trust that you all have an enjoyable day, and this is coming from the Tobago Updates family, sending you love, love, love. And we know you're going to have a great one indeed. And on screen with us now, we're sending birthday shout-outs to Omar Glaze. All right, we trust that you enjoy your day today. And let the celebrations continue. That's the good thing when you have a birthday on the Friday heading into the weekend. Let the celebrations continue. Happy birthday going out to each and every one from the Tobago Updates family. And just as a reminder, we want to note to you that on Monday, Joan E. Richardson, the family fondly known as Auntie Joan, mother of Rhea Richardson George, our very own host here at the Tobago Updates morning show. The tribute service will take place on Sunday, the 24th of April, 2022 at 5 p.m. at the Mongrace Open Bible Church, and the homegoing service will take place on Monday, the 25th of April, 2022 at 2 p.m. at the Mongrace Open Bible Church, Tobago, and it will be streamed live here on the Tobago Updates. All right, so we invite you to ensure that you tune in and to lend your support. Rhea Richardson George, we are here with you every step of the way, and we trust that you and the family, indeed, we continue to keep you in prayer and to keep connected every step of the way. And we know that our viewers will also continue to remember you in prayer. We've been getting our feedback, local, national, and even coming in from international, to lend that support, and that's how we operate. Whether we are in studio, we are on the outside as viewers, it's the connected support for the Tobago Updates family. And we want to continue to thank each and every one of you, the viewers, for continuing to make us number one because of your efforts and your support. In the lineup this morning, coming up in the next segment, we will be chatting this morning with Winston Pereira, Public Relations Officer of the Buku Village Council. And we're aware that the Buku Village Council this time around was not able to take on the Buku activities on Easter Tuesday. We're going to get a little insight this morning, folks. This is the time to ensure. I know you want to hear about this, and I know how we are, but we want to thank each and every one of you. And at this point, just before we head off to the break, I want to thank all of you joining us via TV, those of you joining us via radio, those joining us at TobagoUpdates.com, as well as via YouTube. We want to remind you to share the live, share the live, share the live.
Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning. Supplies has been a leading name for over 37 years in the glass and aluminum market in Tobago. We provide an extensive range of high-quality, innovative aluminum and glass products for commercial and residential use. Competitive prices with superior and professional services by committed employees who are guided by rigid quality standards. Tobago Glass Supplies specializes in the manufacture and installation of glass and aluminum products that are essential to today's homeowners and the business environment. We are engaged in marketing, sales, and installation of a variety of products. These ranges from windows and doors to necessities such as mirrors for homes and vehicles, designed and manufactured in-house or imported.
We party till we drop down there with a lot of pretty girls down there, down in Tobago.
Hello, Crime Stoppers?
This is Crime Stoppers. Please share only your crime information.
I want to report a crime, but I need to make sure it will not be traced back to me.
Caller, I assure you, there's no record of this call other than the information you give us and the tip number I assign you for you to call back and check on your reward. This system has worked in 26 countries for more than 40 years.
Help stop crime. Call Crime Stoppers at 800 TIPS today. Calls are safe and 100% anonymous.
There's a taste in the air everywhere. Feel the vibe, cause it's something to share. Smooth, rich and creamy, you'll find it right here. Makes you smile, relax a while, it's fun and good cheer. Ooh, enjoy every scoop. Ooh, every taste will get you hooked. We have flavors that you love, a combination special. Come along, enjoy our treats. This is Uncle Pete's.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning, viewers, and welcome back. It's 7:16 a.m. and this is the Tobago Updates morning show coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough. In this segment, viewers, we are chatting with Mr. Winston Pereira, Public Relations Officer of the Buku Village Council. And we'd have just had on Tuesday a taste of Buku, and we're going to get his feedback in relation to giving a perspective, knowing that he has been involved in the Buku Village Council for a number of years. And as we are aware, the Buku Village Council has had that responsibility over the years for the execution of the races and the entire festival and activity that takes place on Easter Tuesday as a critical part of the celebrations in Tobago. In fact, one may even say Buku is highly responsible for technically what is a holiday in Tobago on Easter Tuesday. All right, morning to you, sir.
Morning, Julian. Morning, Julian. Morning to the team from Tobago Updates and your viewership, both international, domestic, local, and regional.
Thank you very much. And just to put things into perspective as we get started, just give our viewers a sense. Over how many years have you been involved in the Village Council, and by extension, the Village Council, involved in the running of the Easter Tuesday races?
All right. Is that a trick question to find out what my age is? All right, here we're going on. Actually, I've been involved with the Village Council at least more than 5 years, right? Because the position I hold and the executive positions in the Village Councils are actually elected positions. So I'm the incumbent for about at least 3 terms per se in regards to when elections are held.
Okay,
so
good. No, I was just trying to put in perspective because I know you've been there and you also are a proud resident
yes,
of
course.
Buku. So
and Tobago.
As we head into one of the very early discussions that would have started in this year is with the reopening being announced by the Prime Minister. Very shortly thereafter, we saw what was a press release coming forward from the Buku Village Council in relation. Just give us a little insight into that, behind the decision that you would not be ready to facilitate the usual.
So I think there are a lot of misconceptions based on the chronology of events. Actually, the decision for us not to take part or participate in the event came before the Prime Minister formally came on and made a national announcement in terms of relieving the restrictions, right? The press release was pursuant to that, right? So it was not based primarily on that particular event happening in the sense of the Prime Minister making that statement, then we just jumping out and saying, well, look, we're not going to be involved in it. There's a chronology behind it. And inevitably, the discussions we were having with the assemblyman and the goat owners and the other stakeholders involved, it started in February, right? And there were 2 in-person meetings and 2 meetings via Zoom, right? And that was before the restrictions were lifted. So therefore, we were working with a model that generally we're not really so fully accustomed with, because there would have been a restriction in terms of people coming into the facility, and also a creation of a safe zone element to that, yeah? So going forward, after the restrictions were lifted, as I said, the press release was already drafted. So the onus was upon us to ensure that that press release reflected exactly the position of the Village Council, and also to indicate that the Buku Goat and Crab Race Festival, the 95th edition, because it's really supposed to be 98, but remember 2 years it was in stasis, right? So the 95th edition will be ongoing or expected in 2023, right?
Right. I know you said it would have been crafted before, right? But what's interesting is that your release actually specified the fact about any other entity. That seemed like a recent development. How would you have been knowledgeable about any other entity?
I wouldn't say any other. You see, we have to look at it from the perspective of what the Village Council, the proprietary rights that the Village Council has in terms of the copyright. Yeah.
Right.
So the reality is there must be a clear delineation between what took place in Buku on Tuesday, which is called the Taste of Buku, versus the Buku Goat and Crab Race Festival, which everyone knows is well established over about 90 odd years. Yeah. So that was the meaning behind that.
In terms of making that
making that clear.
All right. We go in specifically. Would you have had an opportunity to attend the
Yes, I did. I did go in for a short while.
All right. So give us a sense of your feedback based on the happenings, because this was intended to be a taste of Buku, as you said, making a distinction between what might be the natural full goat and crab race festival, kids area.
Me from a comparative position?
In terms of making that comparison from the standpoint of the village council having a viewpoint. Because I know normally the village council will be preoccupied from a work perspective.
Right.
And I know I've heard in the past the indication naturally when you're on the working team, you're not always able to sit down and take it in.
Right.
Tell us about your viewpoint, having had the opportunity to see it from a different perspective this year, not necessarily being on the team delivering or working with it.
Well, in retrospect, we could actually say that the outcome was very positive on the day. I mean, the turnout was pretty sound, yeah, from my perspective. But you have to also remember that they already had an existing established model to work with. So, I mean, the only difference was the timeline in which they had to work, right? And for them, the positive thing about it is that they had access to funding through the THA, right? Even though we also operate with the THA as a stakeholder, we also have corporate sponsors involved. And our preparations take a much longer period because we have to do engagements, negotiations, you know, we have to produce the budget and stuff like that. We have to cut and pace in certain areas, you know what I mean? Of course, the media plays a very important role there. I noticed on the day that there were only 2 media houses that were actually physically, you know, that you could actually see, yeah? I think there was a question a time before when they had the press conference, and there was a question about exclusivity. I think it came from the journalist from Channel 5. And then, of course, I saw Channel 5 there as well as you all. So it's a very engaging process. It's a very tedious process in certain instances. But what happened on Tuesday on the Taste of Buku, I think the idea was primarily to ensure that the sport continues to survive and thrive and move forward. I think that was the main reason. I think that's what the assemblyman made mention of.
Correct. In hindsight, persons have made the point that the feeling was that the village council should have made some kind of effort. In hindsight, would the village council say that perhaps a different kind of approach could have been taken? If it is an entity, so to speak, individuals who were not traditionally involved, because I'm assuming this committee, these individuals were not necessarily a part of the village council in the past, or even coordinating the said Buku event.
When you say the committee, are you talking about the CMB committee?
Correct.
All right. So inevitably, we only knew or were aware of the CMB, the existence of the CMB committee, during the process of us having those discussions with the assemblyman and the other stakeholders. But as I said before, we were brought in relatively late, right? And there was no definitive model that was given to us for us to actually look at and vet and determine whether we will be able to present what we are accustomed presenting, what we present every year at the standard we usually present it. Remember, we have copyrighted this event, so there's a brand associated to that. And we don't want to have a situation where we are rushed into an arrangement that might cause risk to that brand or damage to that brand going forward. Yeah.
Wouldn't you say that after 2 years, particularly with the issues that would have been raised, or the concerns rather, by the Goat Owners Association, that it was critical to ensure that an initiative of this kind happened, even if it wasn't on the usual grand scale, in order to benefit from what I understand, again, based on our earlier interviews, to benefit those persons who were coming in from the perspective of within the village itself, to be able to benefit from economic activity and so on after a year or 2 years of not having the festival. And similarly on that scale, in terms of the goat owners who indicated that they've been still engaged in training and preparation, and they were really looking forward to have the races. Didn't the village council feel that this was still essential in the process to give consideration to that beyond the usual not having the full time frame to prepare?
Well, listen, one can look at it in various ways. We have to look at it from the perspective of what is best for the brand that we have the copyright for, the village council in terms of their standing as the proprietary owners of that brand, and also the members and the community of Buku Point. And the decision that was made was one of a collective nature. It wasn't just made by a few individuals, right? Because we would have put out the information we had at the point in time. Remember, the discussions we had was prior to the actual restrictions being lifted, okay? So we were working within the realm of a safe zone kind of approach, which would have limited the amount of persons coming into the facility, as well as you will have to be vaccinated, which is our next additional element that might restrict the level of persons or the amount of persons coming in there.
So what do you then say to persons who would tell you, Mr. Pereira, that is old talk, because people would have said that when the taste of Carnival came up, there was much dismay with a very short time frame, but there was still an opportunity by those who were commonly involved in the industry to still get something off the ground. Why? Because of the demand of patrons and people wanting to do something. What do you say in those circumstances?
I agree with everything you're saying, Julian, yeah? But we also have to remember, too, that if there's no definitive model presented, right, we are actually operating in the dark. And because there was no definitive model presented, our decision at that time, based on the timeline that we had to work with, to say, hey, what's going on? Unfortunately, we will not be able to be part of this event this year because of X, Y, Z. And I can give you the chronology of everything that took place. The first thing we had with the assembly was on the 8th of February. Right? That was an in-person meeting himself. I think Secretary Baines was there. And members of that same, or a member from that same organization called CMB, or he presented himself as a member from one of the, and the goat owners, right? And the discussions were basically focused on the potential of having a goat race in a pandemic. That's the first thing. And secondly, there was questions about the remuneration for the goat owners. And of course, we all can sympathize with the fact that the goat owners were, because the sport had been in stasis for 2 years, it's obvious that the revenue that they generally would receive from those activities now has been completely diminished. That being said, our intention as the village council is to work hand in hand with all the stakeholders. Remember, by copyrighting the event, we have set a platform to monetize the sport, okay? And that monetization is not only going to benefit the village council directly, but every other stakeholder that is involved in the sport. And we have always suggested to the goat owners that we should create a schedule of races, something similar to what you see in the US, right? Where you have the Triple Crown, right? The Triple Crown is like 3 races. You have the Kentucky to start with, and you have the Preakness, and you have the Belmont, and then you get, they call it what? Something with the rules, some kind of thing. But nevertheless, it's based on a structure where you can actually have a pro rata rating leading up to a major event.
Just clarify for me, because I see some of the viewers asking, who would have been responsible for the definitive model that you're referring to?
The CMO.
You're talking about in terms of through health?
Yes, because we have to remember that the discussions were happening before the restrictions were removed. Okay, so we were working within those parameters, and we never got any definitive word from the CMO. I mean, the CMO only came in once, and there were options we put forward to her, because it's a limiting exercise if you were to implement all those restrictions in terms of people coming into the facility, right? Specifically vaccinated persons, and then there's the logistical side of it, where you have to have hand wash stations, people have to wear masks, probably you have to do temperature readings. All that is additional cost, right?
And that's why you see, some would say, Mr. Pereira, that's why we thought that the village council will jump on it by the time you realize the Prime Minister announced alternatively. But just before, let me get a sense from you. Given what you have described also as having an excellent execution this year, specific to the fact that they had a model to work with, as you indicated, based on what had happened prior years. So it was something people looked forward to, and they would have been able to execute as well this year. Is the village council prepared to work hand in hand with those individuals for the delivery of an even bigger and better 2023 going forward? Because now you have given an avenue to allow someone else to come and execute your show for you.
Not necessarily, not necessarily. And when you say other persons, are you talking about the organization?
The committee, correct.
Right. So therefore, why would you create a parallel organization when the actual organization who has been handling this event over 90 plus years is the persons who basically should be the lead organization in any event of that nature? And that goes straight across all the communities of Tobago, right? Because each community has a product that is indigenous to them, as part of their culture, right? And I genuinely believe that we have the skill set and the capacity within those communities to develop an event similar to what we have in Buku, yeah? And be able to deliver it to the public for the benefit, the collective benefit of Tobago as the product Tobago.
But you're not answering my question. Would the village council, knowing that the village council will continue to take the lead for the event, is the village council prepared to also work with these other individuals or the committee, whatever the group is called, that came together specific to assist with delivering this year?
We are prepared to work with anyone once it's for the benefit of the event, the community, and Tobago as a whole.
All right. Just give us a sneak peek very quick. 30 seconds to wrap. What can we look forward to for 2023?
Well,
2023 is the 90th.
Right. Yeah, 95th. We put it as the 95th. Really supposed to be 98 because remember we stalled 2 years. But nonetheless, before we even reach there, we are looking at potentially putting together a package that's integrated with a juve as well as a goat race and other elements of the village in Buku for during the period of the carnival period as identified in October, right? And then moving forward from there, next year being the 95th edition, after 3 years of complete stasis, obviously our efforts would be to highlight the fact, the established nature of the event, and the fact that this is the 95th edition, which is something that is itself is a milestone.
A grand celebration.
A grand celebration.
All right. Well, thank you very much there again, Mr. Winston Pereira, Public Relations Officer of the Buku Village Council, and giving a clear indication of the Buku Village Council's continued commitment in terms of delivering bigger and better. And you gave us a sneak peek as well. We can also look forward even before Easter 2023. In October for the Tobago Carnival, we're going to have some races and things happening at the Buku Integrated Facility. And I remember on Tuesday, that was one of the things I spoke to, whether or not we just wait the entire year along the way. And we also heard a commitment being given by Assemblyman for the area. So we really look forward to the respective entities, the Assemblyman, the Buku Village Council, as well as all those within the community working together to ensure that we continue to deliver an exceptional use of the facility, as well as the continued races, indigenous and in keeping with our culture here in the Tobago space. All right, so viewers, we want to continue to thank each and every one of you tuned in via TV, radio. I've got some great news, folks. We are currently live via Gael, the channel, M&E TV, Smash Radio. We're live on TobagoUpdates.com, YouTube, and those of you joining us on social media. And just in case you're wondering, my information is come next week. We will also be live on 91.9 FM. So you've got another avenue to follow us on our mornings as we continue to bring you the Tobago Updates morning show. At this point, we want to remind each and every one of you online, please remember to share the live, share the live, share the live.
MI4 Security Services Company is the most advanced security service in Tobago. Ask about our cash and transit service. It's safe, risk-free, reliable, and timely. We provide safe banking delivery for all business types and sizes with highly trained staff, 24/7 monitoring, coordinated emergency response, and a well-maintained fleet of armored vehicles. Contact us at 660-7723 or visit our website at www.mi4securitytt.com to sign up today.
Rest easy at American Stores. Up to 20% off. Outstanding discounts on selected Serta, Sealy, and Therapeutic mattress brands. Check us out today at American Stores, where we make quality living affordable.
Are you looking for that all-in-one shopping experience? Then look no more. Visit Lamb's Best Mart for your grocery items, fruits and vegetables, drinks, home items, stationery, gift items, hampers, shopping gift cards, toiletries, small hardware items, and much more. We provide order and pickup service, even delivery to your door. We are your friendly community supermarket. Check us out today at Lamb's Best Mart, located at 22 Daniel Trace Canby, or visit us on social media at Lamb's Best Mart.
Our national borders, our first step to security, but a possible access point for guns, drugs, crime. If it does not look right, do the right thing. Call Crime Stoppers anonymously. 800-8477. Report possible border crime.
Coconut Shepherd's Cafe, the buffet restaurant that specializes in all your tasty local dishes. For breakfast and for lunch. Breakfast includes coconut bake and sada roti, served with chokers, bull joil, and sausages in tomato sauce. Not forgetting beef and cheese pies, shepherd's pie, macaroni pie, and rice in various styles. Meat served in a variety of flavors, garden salads, and pasta salads. All this accompanied by fruit juices, coconut water, your choice of a great combination to appease your taste buds. So call us today to order, as we are here to accommodate your busy schedules or if you are having a cooking day off.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough. Welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show. In this segment, we are chatting with Kwesi Gill and Sharon Motley, both of the Family Planning Association of Trinidad and Tobago. Kwesi Gill, HIV tester and counselor, and Sharon Motley, Deputy Executive Director. And we are speaking FPATT Tobago Community Outreach. Morning to both of you.
Good morning. Good morning.
Excellent. So
Thanks for having us.
we have to get you in the Tobago Updates energy. All right, so we get started immediately. Tell us what's going to be happening. Deputy Executive Director Sharon, tell us what's going to be happening for this Tobago Community Outreach. Just give us an overview.
Well, good morning, Tobago. Thanks for having us. We're looking forward to joining you all in Tobago Monday, April 25th through Wednesday, April 27th. FPAT is coming back to Tobago. We haven't been there for a long time, but we have traditionally been providing community-centered sexual and reproductive health services to the citizens and residents of Tobago. So over the 3 days, we would be doing two major activities. We'll be providing free HIV testing using self-test kits as well as rapid tests. And we will be holding a youth forum on Monday evening right there at the Port Mall where you are, inviting young people to come out and talking about sexual and reproductive health issues and their rights and what they want to see and what their needs are. So we're really excited to be able to join you all in Tobago to provide these services.
All right. Tell us specifically, Kwesi, HIV tester and counselor, give us a sense specifically as what will your role be in this initiative? And I'm looking specific, would we have opportunities in terms of testing and so on happening for persons who want to come forward and want to take that opportunity? You know, I want to know my status.
We'll have and the good thing is testing kits. You can yourself the form and then you don't need it, and it's easily accessed. As well as a counseling, I will be talking about sex practices.
I think I missed the first part with his connection appears to be given a little challenge. But just confirm for us, Sharon, is it that you're definitely going to have testing?
Yes. So what Kwesi was trying to share was that we will be doing rapid HIV tests as well as self-tests. So we will be showing people who come to be tested how to do self-tests. So yes, rapid HIV testing, self-test, and it's free. It's free of charge to all residents, and we will be both in the Scarborough area as well as in Roxborough. So we'll be in Scarborough on the Wednesday and Roxborough on the Tuesday. And for more information, because you know we want to keep it confidential and we want this to be a safe, confidential experience for people, we're not giving out the exact locations, but if people are interested, please WhatsApp us at 710-6526. That's 710-6526, and we'll give you all the details where you could come and get your free confidential HIV testing.
Excellent. I'm hoping that his connection will be back. But until he gets back on with us, I want you to tell us a little bit as Deputy Executive Director in terms of this is the Tobago Community Outreach. But tell us about what your impact has been nationally, or is this the start of the outreach effort?
No, the outreach effort has been going on for a while. We really got funding through AIDS Healthcare Foundation to do these HIV tests across Trinidad and Tobago since last year. And COVID kind of shut us down. So recently we started what we call Free Up Fridays here at FPAT in Port of Spain. So people could come even this afternoon from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. to the corner of Henry and New Street to our youth clinic, but anybody could come. It's called the Living Room to get free HIV testing. There will be a feminist organization there talking about sanitary napkins and all the products that women need and providing safe and free products for women. But we've been doing this every Friday for the last few weeks. So we have a DJ. Last week week before we had doubles. And so we've been partnering with other organizations to really get people excited around knowing their status. Because we believe here at FPAT, if you know your status, you could make better decisions about your health on the long term. So
right.
Yeah, it's not
just
a new
repeat for us. Free Up Fridays, because of course, I get a message from one of my colleagues in Trinidad as well. We have viewers out there. Repeat for us, where is it going to be happening? Free Up Fridays?
Free Up Friday is happening at the corner of New and Henry Street. That's right here in Port of Spain. It's a block over from the Port of Spain General Hospital. But if they want more information, they could call 710-6526. So yes, we'll have a DJ. We even do giveaways because we talk about sexual and reproductive health. We talk about FPAT and the work that FPAT has been doing as we get more into integrated healthcare services and how people could become a member of the organization or volunteer. Because this kind of work, especially when we talk about community outreach, we really want to get people involved and excited about sexual and reproductive health, which I must add includes men, women, and youth.
All right.
Kwesi's back.
Excellent. So Kwesi, very quickly, give us the distinction between the two tests that would have been mentioned by Sharon that will be done in terms of HIV testing. I think it was the rapid as well as the one with the swab that persons will be. Just give us a quick distinction of that.
Right. So both of them, both of them look for the HIV antibodies and not the virus. But the difference is with the oral test, you just have to take a swab in your mouth. You just put it in quickly, and that's 20 minutes. Whereas for the rapid test, it's a blood draw where you have to stick your finger, and then we do the test from there. I'm not too sure what's going on with my connection.
Yes.
Yeah, but both of them are quite simple, mostly painless. But the important thing is getting yourself tested, knowing exactly what your status is, because HIV is no longer a death sentence. It's just something that you have to adjust your life to. So no one should be afraid. It's going to be strictly confidential. As Ms. Sharon said, you call the number, we're going to tell you the location, you come, you get tested, you stay no longer than 20 minutes, and then that's it. You're out, you're gone, you know your results, and then you can live happily. Either you can live happily negative or live positively.
Either way, happily ever after. All right. Very quickly, Sharon Motley, in wrapping up for us, just remind us of the days for the Tobago Community Outreach, the venue, and telephone contact for those persons who want to get in contact with you.
So on Monday, April 25th from 5 to 7, we'll be having our youth forum at the Port Mall in Scarborough. On Tuesday, we'll be doing HIV testing in Roxborough. And on Wednesday, April 27th, we'll be again at Port Mall doing free operative word is free HIV testing, and the number to call for more information is 710-6526. So we're looking forward to seeing all our Tobago people coming out, sharing good information, engaging with us, and telling us what you need so that FPAT can cater our services and come back to Tobago more often and frequently.
Excellent. Let me give a shout out to my colleague there, the Family Planning Association, Kimberly Gilbert, a very good friend. All right, and we continue to commend the work that you all are doing across there. We look forward to this Tobago community outreach. Thank you very much again to the Family Planning Association of Trinidad and Tobago, Kwesi Gill, HIV tester and counselor, and Sharon Motley, Deputy Executive Director. Viewers, at this point, we head straight on over to This Day in Tobago History with Devon Adana.
This Day in Tobago History. Did you know that on April 22nd, 1668, Abel Thistle took up his appointment as Dutch commander in Tobago? According to worldstatesman.org, 354 years ago today, a Dutch ensign called Abel Thistle was sent to govern the then Dutch island colony of New Walcheren, as Tobago was then called. Thistle was from the states of Zeeland, or what is now the westernmost and least populous province of modern-day Netherlands. Wikipedia states that under the command of Abraham Crimson, the Dutch reclaimed Tobago after it was found abandoned by the French in 1667. Crimson was a Dutch naval commander who most notably captured the English colony of Suriname also in 1667, a few months before re-establishing Tobago. When Crimson got to Tobago and realized it was deserted, he and his men rebuilt and left a garrison on the island. With New Walcheren now under Dutch rule, Abel Thistle arrived to supervise the returned plantation owners as commander. Thistle's chain of authority fell under the governor of Suriname. Suriname in Thistle's time was first governed by Philip Julius Lichtenberg and later by Pieter Verster. Thistle's policies caused serious unrest among the inhabitants of Tobago, causing many revolts. This may have contributed to the ease with which Sir Tobias Bridges and his English expedition were able to reduce the Dutch resistance at their main fort in Tobago in December 1672. The book The Complete History of the Island of Tobago, written by C.R. Utley, states that the then Dutch governor of Tobago, who would have been Thistle at the time, sent a flag of truce with articles of surrender to the British on December 19, 1672. Thistle was later promoted to lieutenant, and upon the death of Governor Verster, he was sent to be interim governor of Suriname. Thistle was successful in Suriname at re-establishing vital trade contact between Barbados and Suriname. But this was not enough to allay rebellions by Indians against Thistle's policies. History suggests that Thistle was less than diplomatic when dealing with the Amerindians, as they were then called, and it resulted in raids on Dutch and Jewish plantations, leaving 40 white inhabitants killed. When the new governor, Johannes Heinsius, arrived in December 1678 to take over from Thistle, he found the situation in Suriname bleak. In fact, Thistle fled Suriname on the same ship that Heinsius sailed into the colony. You've been watching This Day in Tobago History. My name is Devon Adana. Lots more after the break, so be sure to share the live and join us.
MI4 Security Services Company is the most advanced security service in Tobago. Ask about our cash and transit service. It's safe, risk-free, reliable, and timely. We provide safe banking delivery for all business types and sizes with highly trained staff, 24/7 monitoring, coordinated emergency response, and a well-maintained fleet of armored vehicles. Contact us at 660-7723 or visit our website at www.mi4securitytt.com to sign up today.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, morning.
viewers, and welcome back. It's 7:49 a.m. and in this segment we are chatting with Mr. Embahu Mohini, Servant President of the National Joint Action Committee, NJAC. I know he would have been served within, giving service over the years, even within our political landscape. Former senator, if I am correct, as well, serving and doing his service at a national level within Trinidad and Tobago, and also specific here within the Tobago space. And today we are speaking the Trinidad and Tobago Revolution, 52 years later. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
There was a point where I would mix up which brother was the senator.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, thank you very much for joining us this morning. As we get started, we want to be able to put this discussion into perspective, and we're jumping right back to then, 52 years ago, the Trinidad and Tobago Revolution. For the benefit of our viewers locally, regionally, and internationally, just give us a perspective as to what did that entail then.
Okay, well, we have to look at the background of it, because in 1970, there was this mass movement, and the people of Tobago responded. As a matter of fact, before the NJAC leadership even came to Tobago, there were a number of brothers like Tony McFarlane, Bayless Frederick, Alan Richards, Opuku Ware, Talbot Wilson, Dupont Ewing, Tanner, Lennox Daniel, who had already begun to do some foundation work in terms of enlightening the people of Tobago with regard to the need for fundamental change that could give our people greater control of their own lives, their island of Tobago, their nation of Trinidad and Tobago, as well as the resources in the country. So that this day, the 21st of April, was actually the culmination of 55 days of demonstrations and demands for change that could have brought about a better way of life for our people. We won't have time to go into all of it today, but I would just want the public to know that a lot of the benefits that would have come from that movement, we enjoy them today without even knowing how they came about or who was responsible, who sacrificed in order that we could have these benefits today.
I'd like you to share specific in terms of giving us a sense. I would have had the benefit of interacting with Mr. Ewan in my village particularly, and he never missed a moment to school and to educate and to inform. How important is that for those of you who would have been a part of this movement in terms of sharing that knowledge? And I'm not even talking in a formal sense just yet, but one-on-one in your engagement with persons, whether it be at your communities, through your churches, within your natural day-to-day engagement in this society. Is it that you wait only until this time, or you ensure across that period you try to make sure that the young people are fully aware and informed?
It is a natural consequence that we must strive to get it across, because there are lessons. My coming and speaking here today, it is not just so much to share the information that they will know, okay, this happened or that happened or the other happened. It is because there are valid lessons, right? The public does not know that in 1970, because of this movement, the government acquired 13 of the large estates in Tobago that our people could have more greater access to their own land. Prior to 1990, were in control of over 70% of our best land. So it is not just to say, well, okay, we know it. For example, in 1970, the crime rate in Trinidad and Tobago went down by 56%. NJAC does have the solution for crime. And what we were able to prove is that togetherness, brotherhood, love, unity are greater tools in fighting crime than all the police officers, all the courthouses, all the jails, right? And Tobago is a special case when we come to that, because when the revolution came to Tobago, what you had was a special ingredient, good, being brought into the revolution. That that concept, if you would remember that Lord Nelson had a calypso, all the way is one family. That sense of family, right? That sense of love. As the demonstration passed through areas, people came out with refreshments. Good. There was a love, there was a togetherness. And Tobago brought a special ingredient. That ingredient, all are we, is one family into the revolution. But remember, the revolution, on the other hand, right, had also brought a principle: be a brother, be a sister. In other words, NJAC was redefining the nation as one family. And it's because of that new definition, it's because of that response, that togetherness. You meet someone, how are you, my brother? How are you, my sister? And I'm not talking about what goes today. Today, someone would call you brother, and when you turn your back, they rob you, right? It was genuine in 1970. Your brother, your sister stood up for you. And with that new concept, the crime rate was reduced by 56%. And when I say 1970, it was not a whole year. NJAC was on the road only for 55 days before the emergency was declared, and our leaders were imprisoned, like Macandal Dagger, right here in Tobago, people like Alan Richards, Dupont Ewing, my brother Tuku Moheni, and several others. Tanner, right? Several others were imprisoned. And I hope you have a little time for me to explain to you how that emergency actually came about, you know?
Yes. Well, you can feel free. Go ahead in that area, because that's one of the areas I wanted to touch on specifically in terms of where the situation took place with emergency powers and the stage of emergency that took place at
Well,
that
what I
time in
will do,
1970. So feel free to enlighten us.
I will go to the largest demonstration that was held in Tobago, the March to Charlottesville, because as the demonstration there, the 11th of April, as it approached, people began to talk about, they were bringing up police reinforcement because they expected that demonstration to be so large, which it was. It is the largest demonstration Tobago had, somewhere between about approximately 12 to 15,000 people participated in that march to Charlottesville. And the authorities came with a conspiracy, because prior to that march, on the 12th of March, there was a demonstration down to Caroni, down to Couva, to unite the Africans and the Indians, because NJAC was about national unity. We wanted to eradicate that nigger coolie politics that has dominated our people's lives. And that demonstration was successful. The Indians, not only did they come out and support, but they actually housed demonstrators who could not get back into Port of Spain, because the meeting in the Couva car park went until possibly about 11:30 in the night. So the Indians supported. What does the powers that be do? They sent police officers to Tobago for the Charlottesville March, but they sent, the majority were Indians, right? And sought to create an incident that would have led to a race war in this country. So while NJAC is trying to unite, okay, the powers that be, the government, they were trying to divide. And they did not stop the demonstration in Scarborough Car Park. They allowed it to leave there and travel all the way up to
So, tell us, and I realize that you might be having a little technical difficulties there, but I'm very interested to get a sense from you as well in terms of my information tells me that we would have had a state of emergency that lasted from April to November of 1970, in terms of the 21st of April to the 20th of November 1970. I'm very interested to even get a sense, and then an indication, my information is also saying several Tobagonians were detained for the greater part of 7 months. Who were some of those that were being detained?
Okay, you have people. Like, I remember I gave some of the names just now.
Yes.
William Benjamin Dingani, Lennox Daniel Tanner, Rupert Ewing, Opukuwari, Ethelbert Wilson, Alan Richards, Tukumu Haney, okay?
So what would you say the atmosphere was like in terms of, in 1970, a state of emergency in that time versus what we have experienced in more recent times? Not with the pandemic, but the state of emergency that we would have had before, treating with the issue of crime a few years ago.
Okay, well, that state of emergency, there's no comparison, because in 1970, the masses were on the move. Thousands of people were demonstrating daily. All right, Basil Davis was shot on the 21st of April, 1970. Yesterday would have been the anniversary of that. He was shot on the 6th of April. And it was the biggest funeral the Caribbean has ever seen, over 100,000 people. Right? But I suspect that I'm running out of time, because what I wanted to point out is, in order for them to declare...
What you can highlight, but I want you to also touch on your special memorial, the tribute that takes place this year.
Okay, let me just finish this point and then I'll go to the memorial.
Not a problem.
Because what the government did, they got special branch officers to enter one of the demonstrations on the 16th of April in Trinidad. Right? Then those officers who were disguised as demonstrators, posing as demonstrators, went into stores and started a ransack. Demonstrators obviously would have followed. They used it as an excuse to say there was violence, and they declared an emergency 5 days afterwards. So that the emergency that was actually declared was a setup by the powers that be, okay, to create an incident, because all of the demonstrations were peaceful, well organized, and disciplined. Okay. You spoke about the memorial, which is tomorrow. It is 10 a.m. at the cemetery where Basil Davis was buried, 11A Santa Cruz Old Road, in Sawa. And we are going to be hosting the first part of the event at the Pamberry Steel Orchestra. And then right next door, we are going to the cemetery where he was buried, where we also have a spiritual proceeding.
All right, excellent. So is it open to the public? Will it also be live stream? How can persons follow? Because this has certainly been a history lesson, giving us particular context to the revolution.
It is open to the public. The streaming particulars, yes, it will be streamed. I can't give those. I don't have it with the particulars with me at this point. But the public...
All right. Would you care to share a contact number so persons who would like to follow up to get the information, to know, just to get the specifics?
Okay. 270-4111. That is 270-4111. They could call that number for further information.
All right. Excellent. Final 30 seconds. Any closing words?
Yes. That Tobago stood firm in that movement. There were changes. For example, the chief servant spoke about the lack of communication. Coming out of 1970, we got our first weekly newspaper. We got Tobago, 610 Tobago being opened. And Tobago began to open up coming out of that movement, in addition to the fact that NJAC got 100% pay rise for all the store workers in Scarborough in 1970. So there were the benefits. We don't have the time to go into all of it, but there were the benefits, and the people of Tobago stood firm. There were demonstrations, the Mount Irving Bay Hotel, the use of young girls for striptease at Club La Tropical was stopped by NJAC in 1970 as well, to bring greater dignity to our people. There's a lot more to be said, but I hope that I will have an opportunity to come back, to share again. And as you rightfully said, our young persons need to be aware.
Thank you so much this morning. A wealth of knowledge indeed there, Mr. Embahu Mahini. And let me shout out morning to Mr. Drupert Ewan, continuing to make his efforts. At least that's one of the individuals I had opportunities to interact with, to hear and to learn about the revolution and many other things happening well before my time. So we want to thank Embahu Mahini, servant president of the National Joint Action Committee, NJAC, and former senator here of the Parliament and the Republic in Trinidad and Tobago. Viewers, we want to thank you so much for the continued love and support for the Tobago Updates morning show. Each and every one of you tuning in. Those of you tuning in via TV, Gael, as well as M&E TV. Those of you tuning in via radio, Smash Radio. Those online at tobagoupdates.com, YouTube, and those of you joining us on Facebook. And from next week, folks, we'll also be live from 7 a.m. on 91.9 FM. So we are creating more avenues for you to be able to connect with us, no matter where you are in the world, whether you're here in Tobago, you are in Trinidad, or you join us from the region or the world at large. We want to thank you so much again for the continued support for the Tobago Updates morning show. Stay tuned as we head over to GMT, Good Morning Tobago, with Candice and Denicia. And as we wrap this morning, as Ria would always say, to give you a gentle reminder, remember to wear your mask, wash those hands, soap and water, and sanitize, hand sanitizer, as well as to maintain your social distance as we continue to work through the challenge of COVID-19. Take care, have a great weekend. See you all next week. We head on over to GMT with Candice and Denicia.
I just want a microphone. Morning. Take the mask off your face and look at me face to face. Good morning.
Tobago Glass Supplies has been a leading name for over 37 years in the glass and aluminum market in Tobago. We provide an extensive range of high-quality, innovative aluminum and glass products for commercial and residential use. Competitive prices with superior and professional services by committed employees who are guided by rigid quality standards. Tobago Glass Supplies specializes in the manufacture and installation of glass and aluminum products that are essential to today's homeowners and the business environment. We are engaged in marketing, sales, and installation of a variety of products. These ranges from windows and doors to necessities such as mirrors for homes and vehicles, designed and manufactured in-house or imported.
We party till we drop down there with a lot of pretty girls down there, down in Tobago.
Rest easy at American Stores. Up to 20% off. Outstanding discounts on selected Serta, Sealy, and Therapeutic mattress brands. Check us out today at American Stores, where we make quality living affordable.
Hello, Crime Stoppers?
This is Crime Stoppers. Please share only your crime information.
I want to report a crime, but I need to make sure it will not be traced back to me.
Caller, I assure you, there's no record of this call other than the information you give us and the tip number I assign you for you to call back and check on your reward. This system has worked in 26 countries for more than 40 years.
Help stop crime. Call Crime Stoppers at 800-TIPS today. Calls are safe and 100% anonymous.
There's a taste in the air everywhere. Feel the vibe cause it's something to share. Smooth, rich and creamy, you'll find it right here. Makes you smile, relax a while, it's fun and good cheer. Ooh, enjoy every scoop. Ooh, every taste will get you hooked. We have flavors that you love, a combination special. Come along, enjoy our treats. This is Uncle Pete's.
Are you looking for that all-in-one shopping experience? Then look no more. Visit Lamb's Best Mart for your grocery items, fruits and vegetables, drinks, home items, stationery, gift items, hampers, shopping gift cards, toiletries, small hardware items, and much more. We provide order and pickup service, even delivery to your door. We are your friendly community supermarket. Check us out today at Lamb's Best Mart, located at 22 Daniel Trace Canby, or visit us on social media at Lamb's Best Mart.
Our national borders, our first step to security, but a possible access point for guns, drugs, crime. If it does not look right, do the right thing. Call Crime Stoppers anonymously. 800-8477. Report possible border crime.
Yeah. Hey. Tobago updates. Good morning, Tobago. Wake up with Candace and Denicia. Let's go, go. It's a brand new morning. Rise up to a brand new dawning. As the passion start to rise, the energy fill the skies. I say thanks for favor to wake up and hear me neighbor. 60,000 people strong, and the vibes is never wrong. We are beauty, we are power, we are people in the sun. We are beaches, we are rivers, we are melanated ones. We special and there is no denying. Tobago is number one. I am you and you are me. Together we stronger. Good morning, Tobago.
Welcome to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates, your source for current affairs in Tobago, Trinidad, and the region. With the perfect conversations to complement your morning routine, I am Candace Jackson. And I am Denise Dempster. Here is your news in 90 seconds. Minority Leader Kelvin Morris accused Education Secretary Zarisha Hackett of caring more about fashion than students' education. Speaking at a press conference yesterday, Morris says it is unacceptable to blame the previous administration for not undertaking maintenance work in schools during the pandemic. Hackett promised that all schools would be ready for Wednesday, but Scarborough RC Primary School was not. He called for the Chief Secretary to fire Hackett from the division. If he does not, Morris promised to bring a motion of no confidence against her. In other news, parties and the consumption of alcohol on the Buku Reef Marine Park is now prohibited. A notice from the Division of Food Security, Natural Resources, the Environment and Sustainable Development says the Marine Areas Act has been amended to restrict access on the Buku Reef Marine Park. The act stated that only vessels with access or transit passes are allowed in the park. Additionally, tours are only permitted between the hours of 10 a.m. and 5:30 p.m. These measures were introduced to prevent unauthorized use of the protected marine park. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley will be heading to Washington, D.C. on Sunday to continue discussions with the United States banking stakeholders. Dr. Rowley returned from Barbados yesterday while heads of CARICOM discussed the increase in restrictions placed on the region by the U.S. banking sector. New legislation in the U.S. has many financial institutions wary of doing businesses with the Caribbean. If caught doing business with banks who are engaged in money laundering or funding terrorism, they can face hefty fines. Dr. Rowley will be accompanied by a few members of CARICOM to lobby U.S. government officials and banks to reconsider their decisions. That was your news in 90 seconds.
All right, folks. And of course, just to get a little bit more into that story, I don't know if you would have taken a listen to the Prime Minister's press conference yesterday, but what is this whole situation with banking and, dealing with the U.S. is concerned is that it will make life difficult
for all citizens, whether or not you need to cash a check that is based in the US, or you need to transfer some money or accept some money, like from a wire transfer and so on. All of these things could be affected if, you know, things don't change, if CARICOM does not make the necessary intervention. Of course, discussions were ongoing for the last couple of days with some U.S. officials. We had Congresswoman Maxine Walters and so on, actually meeting in person with the with CARICOM, with heads of CARICOM, to get a better understanding of these challenges. Because what is happening is that the U.S. banks are saying that you know, there's a risk of those nefarious activities happening with Caribbean banks. They do not have actual evidence, but because there is that risk, they are kind of resisting, or they are avoiding doing business with Caribbean banks, and it is going to put us at a disadvantage, and it's going to affect so many things, so many of the ways that we do business here in the Caribbean.
Especially the issue with the money laundering. Like, I know of persons who unfortunately, you know, tied up in that aspect. So, I mean, I understand why it is necessary. However, like you said, with it being necessary, it proves other challenges that would be accompanied by doing so. But in other news, with that same press conference yesterday, I want to touch on the issue a little bit of his response to the rising murder rate in TNT, as well as the corporal punishment.
Yes.
That has been a very sensitive and, like, you know, touching issue. And with the whole issue of the rising murder rate, that has something that has rise since the restrictions have lifted. I remember I was speaking to somebody yesterday and they said, could you imagine how much murders, like every time you wake up, you hear about somebody dying, somebody getting
And not
killed.
just one murder.
And it's just not one murder, it's more than one. So it calls for a cause of concern, because we moved from a situation where it wasn't so much an issue because of the pandemic. Now that things have been lifted, the restrictions have been lifted, we are seeing more murders each and every single day. And the whole issue of the corporal punishment, I want to, like, know how you feel about that, because some people say, hey, it is needed, and there are other persons who are saying, no, let us move away from that and try a different method, try a different approach, try a different technique, and let's see if that would be a little bit more successful than the corporal punishment. What do you think?
Well, I mean, we've had some situations coming out recently where we had 2 children who died, unfortunately, as a result of, you know, punishment from their parents. You know, actually some, just even recently, 2 parents were actually remanded into custody for the death of their child. So, I mean, it's definitely a fine line. The Prime Minister said yesterday that we are not going to beat our way out of the situation, especially when it comes to school violence, because we've been seeing out on social media lots of videos being posted of fights within schools. So they are right now trying to find ways how to deal with it. It has to do, and Dr. Rowley said it yesterday, it has to do with even getting the parents involved. Because, and he said that, you know, most of those children that we see in those videos and so on, they have parents. So you have to find a way to reach the parents. It seems as though some parents did not, you know, take control of their children, or did not guide them in the right way. So they're exhibiting these negative and violent behaviors, and it is being very disruptive. And if we don't correct it, find a way to correct it, you know, whether or not it is corporal punishment, or there are many, many methods in which you can work with children to kind of change their behaviors and, you know, instruct them on the right path. So they're right now looking into that. But it involves the parents as well.
No, but it's very interesting that you make mention of that point, because a lot of times we don't understand that there are also environmental factors that come into play, and psychological factors that come into play. Why students are so violent and aggressive at school, because sometimes they're experiencing some sense of trauma, some sort of disconnect at home, and you spend more time at school than you are at home, right?
Yes.
So it's going to be evident that you would display that type of behavior that you're getting, the neglect, the disconnect, the discomfort that you're getting at home. You would display it at school, because that's most of the time, majority of the time that you spend. So I do agree that a different approach, a different method. I remember my dad, he says, sometimes when you beat a child, they get a little bit more hardened.
Yes. No, but I mean, there are studies that say that sometimes, licks, as we know it, like excessive licks, it does not do any good. It actually does more harm to the child than it does, and it sometimes breeds violent behavior in and of itself. So, like I said, there is that fine line, while there are, there is that, those spear the rod and that kind of thing. There's some legitimacy to it. However, it has to be balanced. So, yeah, we'll see what happens.
But we would definitely continue with our discourse, hopefully next week. But in today's show, we're going to be chatting with Adana Kambi. She's the communication consultant coach of Lily's Consultants, and she's going to explain to us why effective communication is important and how we can carry out effective communication, because everybody have different levels and meanings of communication that is to them, right? And sometimes when we think we are communicating, it's really and truly not the best way to communicate. Yeah. So she's going to give us some, tips, approaches, methods that we could use and what we could do differently than what we are doing now that may not be successful. So stay with us. We'll be right back after the break.
Rest easy at American Stores. Up to 20% off. Outstanding discounts on selected Serta, Sealy, and Therapeutic mattress brands. Check us out today at American Stores, where we make quality living affordable.
Are you looking for that all-in-one shopping experience? Then look no more. Visit Lamb's Best Mart for your grocery items, fruits and vegetables, drinks, home items, stationery, gift items, hampers, shopping gift cards, toiletries, small hardware items, and much more. We provide order and pickup service, even delivery to your door. We are your friendly community supermarket. Check us out today at Lamb's Best Mart, located at 22 Daniel Trace, Canby, or visit us on social media at Lamb's Best Mart.
I'm Patricia Nicholson Richards.
Welcome to Tobago Update Sports. I'm your boy Marcus Daniel. Thank you.
Trinidad and
looms
as
remains when the public is nobody lives here. Oil and gas exploration continues to affect the livelihood.
Spearsides Marine
In Tobago fishermen,
when will the Roxborough Hospital be fully functional?
Of the 5 a.m. to 12 p.m. window at the islands,
like the Golden Waterfall, rise in Tobago.
Tobago Glass Supplies has been a leading name for over 37 years in the glass and aluminum market in Tobago. We provide an extensive range of high-quality, innovative aluminum and glass products for commercial and residential use. Competitive prices with superior and professional services by committed employees who are guided by rigid quality standards. Tobago Glass Supplies specializes in the manufacture and installation of glass and aluminum products that are essential to today's homeowners and the business environment. We are engaged in marketing, sales, and installation of a variety of products. These ranges from windows and doors to necessities such as mirrors for homes and vehicles, designed and manufactured in-house or imported.
Welcome back to Good Morning Tobago. It is Fantastic Friday, the Friday before the weekend, and we have a special guest this morning. We are going to be chatting with Adana Kambi. She's a communication consultant coach, and she has an agency called Lily's Consultants. Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Tobago.
Good morning, and thank you guys for having me here today.
Okay, so tell us, I want to kind of dive into things, right? So we are talking about communication. What is effective communication? Because like I said earlier, there are different meanings of communication that persons would have. So you would think that you are communicating effectively, but really and truly that's not the best way to communicate. So what exactly is effective communication or healthy communication?
Right, so one way to measure effective communication is ensuring that the message you are trying to send is what your recipient receives. Because you could say something with the intention for it to be received in a certain way, but your recipient isn't on the same level with you, so they can't understand what you are saying. So first of all, you have to be very clear of what your message is and find ways in which to deliver said message in the effective way to receive the results that you're looking for.
So if if there is a way that you say something, and in your mind, you're trying to say it to the best of your ability for the person to understand, because you say it has to be clear and concise. So you're saying it in the way that is very simple, but yet still that communication is not being received.
Right.
Then what other approach or what other method could I possibly use, or what could I do differently?
All right, first and foremost, if you are going to send a message, more than likely you know who your audience is. You know who you are speaking to. So that's one of the key and foundation things that you have to do. Know who your audience is. For instance, if I'm going to do a presentation at a preschool on finances, my message will obviously be tailored differently to how I would speak to professionals or how I would speak to children in a secondary school. So your message has to be tailored to your audience. You must know who your audience is. You must know how they consume information. You must know how they interact with information and how the information will impact them. So that's one of the things that you really need to study. Who am I sending this message to? For instance, if you're in a relationship or with your family members or whatever, one way your parents might speak to you would be different to the way they will speak to their other children, because they sort of have a relationship or an awareness of who their audience is and how they will receive the message. So that's one of the things you want to look at before you start disseminating any sort of information or any interaction.
So tell us about Lily's Consultants. Why is communication, in your opinion, why is it very important or necessary?
Right, so the name of the organization is Lily Consultants, and as you said, it's a communication consultancy and training. And the importance of communication is basically, this is who we are. We exist to communicate. Even before we enter this world in our mother's womb, we communicate. We communicate every single day. Without communication, we can't exist, right? It's the foundation of our existence. Knowing how to communicate effectively is what positions you for greater opportunities, for your needs and your wants and your feelings and your thoughts to be heard and understood, so that you can impact the space that you're in, and also to maximize the opportunities that become available to you, or even to position yourself to be seen for an opportunity.
All right, so what are some of the practical ways in which someone could prepare for, let me say, public speaking events? What are some?
Right. So for a public speaking event, obviously you would know what the theme is, what the topic is, who your audience is. These are the things you need to find out first and foremost. What is the topic? What is the theme? Who are the people I am speaking to? Then you get your message together, because obviously if you're invited to speak at an event, it means that you're an expert in the field, right? So you already have the information. Now that you know your audience, you put your information down in the order that you want it to be received. So you have a systematic way. Point A, point B, point C. The next thing I always tell my clients is practice, practice, practice. Stand in front of a mirror, stand in front of friends and family, ask people to make recommendations on the things that you could change, what type of language you're going to use, whether you're going to emphasize on your body language, your hand gestures, your facial expressions. Engage all of these tools in your communication to make your message more engaging and to get the response and interaction from your client, your audience as you'd like to, so that you know that you have made an impact and that you are able to measure the success of your delivery in your presentation.
I want to touch a little bit about relationships. Sometimes relationships may have may not necessarily be on the same page because of that communication aspect. And sometimes it causes either parties to feel like if they are drifting away from each other. Some would call it toxic relationship because of that lack of communication. And I've heard about stories where persons say, okay, we didn't have a good communication, like we were never on the same page. And some people think it's so simple. But like I said, persons have different communication styles. So how do you address a situation like that in a relationship where either parties really and truly do not know how to communicate, or the communication that they think they are doing is not really helping the relationship?
Well, first of all, it starts with the individual. First of all, you have to know who you are, what you want, and what you are trying to communicate. Again, it goes back to your audience. You also have to know your partner. You have to know how they receive information, because you've been in a relationship for some time. So you would have picked up some things about this person. Okay, so I'm doing this over and over, and he or she is not getting it. This is not the way. You would observe patterns, and you would observe things about the individual where you can say, okay, this is something, if I say something like this, it will make a dent. So you go along that path to ensure that you make the kind of communication and the connection that you need. But realistically, in relationship situations, it really is up to you. What do you want? What am I trying to communicate, and how do I get him or her to receive what I am communicating to them?
Have you ever had persons who said they feel like they are walking on eggshells, and what is the advice that you give to them to try to overcome those challenges that they may have, whether it be relationship, whether it be with family members, whether it be just in general?
Right, so you find people who walking on eggshells are people who lack confidence. They're always thinking about what the other person will think, or what they will say, or what they will feel. So my advice is really to look within yourself. Do I deserve to be heard? Do I deserve to be understood? Do I deserve this? And once you come to a place where, yes, I need to get this, because if I don't say what I have to say or communicate it in a way, then I'll be stuck here. I'll be stuck walking on eggshells all the time, and I will never progress from one level to the next. So you really have to do introspection and ask yourself these burning questions. Do I deserve this? And if the answer is yes, then I'm going to make the necessary steps. I'm going to have to walk on the eggshells and crack them and move to the next, level.
All right, so what are some of the misconceptions people have about, making good communication efforts, even within just a business setting?
Mindset, because a lot of people don't see the need for, why do I need a communication specialist? We could do this ourselves. I could write a press release. I could do this. I could do that. But there are key principles that somebody who is trained in the field of communications will pick up. Communications is emotional, it is tactile, it is interactive. A lot of things go into communication. For instance, most professionals, in any profession that you want to engage in, or any degree, psychology, they have to do a module in communication. Therapy, therapists, they have to do, so a lot of different disciplines, they have to take a course in communication, because the key element to the success of anything is good, effective, impactful communication.
And what are some of the services that you offer to persons, whether it's businesses or individuals themselves, about how you could go about making your communication more effective?
Right. So we do training and coaching. I like to do one-on-one, because each individual has individual needs, specific needs. So communication skills, presentation skills, public speaking. I do also soft skills like time management, how to dress well, how to present yourself well before an audience, how to speak, how to sit, how to position yourself. What your body language says about you is really a wide scope, because communication, as I said, is who we are. All right? As you said, I have also trained a lot of groups and organizations. I've trained representatives for pageants, and all these sorts of people. So really and truly, we all need help. Even I'm still growing, I'm still learning. I don't know everything, I'm not the authority on communication. So for me, it's very exciting to continue to develop my art and my craft, and to teach people and to deposit into people all the knowledge that I have. I'm very passionate about communication, because I've been in positions where opportunities passed me. I wasn't looked at for an opportunity, or I didn't position myself for an opportunity because my skills weren't as strong as they are now. Now, if I walk into a room, I kind of know where my place is in that space, and that's kind of where I want to get people to in the Tobago space and beyond, because I have clients coming from all over.
Yeah. Right, and I think you touched on something because, I mean, when you're listening to you, you're hearing that passion,
Right.
about effective communication. And I think that is something that a lot of persons within our society lack, that effective communication. And have you seen any change? Because, I mean, throughout the pandemic, communication became very, very important. And of course, how we communicated changed. But have you seen any change as to, a person's developing their communication skills? I mean, or how would you rate how we are right now?
What I have seen is a lot of people communicating, right? Whether it's good, whether it's not so good, whether it's bad, but you've seen a lot because people have engaged all these platforms. Everything now became so open. We on Facebook, we on every single platform you could think about, because that is the only way we could really reach people, because we were behind bars, quote unquote, for so long. So a lot of people have engaged this medium, and some of it is sort of, they need some help. Guys, you can call me, right? But I have seen a lot of, especially younger people, where my clientele is concerned, a lot of younger people are reaching out to me, mainly because they lack the confidence. It's like they know what they want to say, they know how they feel, they know what they want to express, but they feel if I say something, they might look at me a certain way, I might be victimized, so it's trying to get people to find their confidence to say what they have to say, to position themselves. And I have seen a lot of people approaching, even if I haven't seen any shift in a good way, I have seen people reaching out, wanting to improve their communication skills because they see the need based on the things that I share on my social media pages. People say, oh my gosh, I'm missing this, so I need to, and they reach out to me and we do the assessment, and then I prepare the coursework for them.
Before we wrap up, I want to expound on the point that you made with the lack of confidence, because a lot of times too, especially young persons, and I've had this issue before, where sometimes your assertiveness or you being a plain spoken is sometimes taken out of context, and they may say, oh, she's rude, she's disrespectful, she don't know her place. But really and truly, you're just assertive,
right?
So I do want to agree with that point, but before we wrap up, could you tell persons how they can get in contact with you if they want to book a session, where they could find you on social media platforms?
Okay, so my telephone number is 868-797-9797. My social media handles on Instagram is at Compelling Communication. On TikTok, yes, I'm on TikTok, is at Well Presented. Right? So you could reach out to me there. You could also email me on lilyconsultants1@gmail.com. What I do is I basically do a client assessment, get to know you a little bit better. We do the assessment, and then we prepare the coursework for you to get the maximum impact for your communication abilities.
All right, well, thank you so much for being on set with us. It was such a wonderful time speaking with you. And folks, if you want to improve your communication skills, get in touch with Miss Combi. She is, like you heard, she is very, very passionate, and she has a lot of lessons that she can teach you and a lot of skills that she can teach you. So get in touch. We'll be right back after the break.
Coconut's Cafe, the buffet restaurant that specializes in all your tasty local dishes. For breakfast and for lunch. Breakfast includes coconut bake and sada roti, served with chokers, bull joil, and sausages in tomato sauce. Not forgetting beef and cheese pies, shepherd's pie, macaroni pie, and rice in various styles. Meat served in a variety of flavors, garden salads and pasta salads. All this accompanied by fruit juices, coconut water, your choice of a great combination to appease your taste buds. So call us today to order, as we are here to accommodate your busy schedules, or if you are having a cooking day off.
You can now get whatever you need whenever you need it anywhere in Tobago with Tobago. Your meals, medication, groceries, and shopping all delivered directly to you. No more hassle, no more stress. Get the Tobago app today on Google Play or Apple App Store.
That's TAPPOGO, and let us deliver to you.
Check our website at www.tapogo.app or call the experts at 494-TOGO and 484-4746. Tobago. Relax. We will get it to you. Tobago's at your service.
Good morning, Tobago. Well, Denise here. We had a very nice conversation about communication and the importance of communication skills. And yeah, I hope that persons can take up that offer, because a lot of times, you know, we encounter people and they just don't know how to communicate.
Yes, and it oftentimes feels like if you're talking to a brick wall, because like I said, she said, you know, sometimes understanding and comprehension is two different things. You can say something to someone, but if they lack that intellectual ability to comprehend what you're saying, even if you're doing it in the simplest form of communication, it may not necessarily come across to them. And I feel like, you know, there are times where we really and truly can practice more effective communication, and just because we communicate and to us we are communicating, not all the time we are effectively communicating. And it's very important to understand that persons do come from different backgrounds, so their levels of communication, their styles of communication may not be the same, and that is also something to be very mindful of. And we could, if we can do better, then we should work towards that.
All right, yes. And we know we have a situation developing in regards to the Buku Reef Marine Park. Like we heard in the news earlier today that, you know, there are restrictions, and I'm just going to, just for the public's sake, I'm just going to read off a little bit just before we close off our session this morning. But just to remind the public, now tours to the Buku Reef Marine Park shall only be permitted during the park's opening hours from 10 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Access to the marine park is allowed to registered and insured vessels holding access and or transit permits issued by the division. Parties and the consumption of alcohol within the Buku Reef Marine Park is strictly prohibited. Navigation through the park is to be done by the way of the marked channel, and fishing of any kind is prohibited on the Buku Reef Marine Park. I think persons forget that last one. That fishing is prohibited because, I mean, we sometimes see persons catching the parrotfish and so on, and we know that that fish is very, very important to the health of our reefs. So we should not be catching those fish. We should not be eating those fish. There's a lot more of the fish that we can eat and choose from. But stay away from the reefs in terms of fishing.
Well, you know, they say all good things come to an end. No more parties, you know. Nobody will be able to enjoy themselves on the Buku Reef because
they would still be able to enjoy.
Yes, but the exuberant parties and, you know, the consumption of alcohol and, you know, the things that we used to do before, we can't really do them anymore.
Yes, and of course it's about preserving our one of our treasures. But in the meantime, that's all we have for today. Have a wonderful and safe weekend, folks, and we'll see you again on Monday.
And as I always say, stay safe, keep smiling, and have a wonderful weekend. Bye, guys.
60,000 people strong, and the vibes is never